Hey everyone, welcome into Attacking Third, presented by CarMax, the way car buying should be. It's Tuesday, and we are on the verge of U.S. Women's National Team friendlies. There are 3 of them upcoming. We're going to talk about all about it. The players who have earned their first call-ups under Emma Hayes, the competition in Ireland. They're also playing Canada. Of course, we're going to give you some predictions, guys. You know, we're always going to give you our picks and predictions of who is going to win U.S. against Ireland. Alongside Sandra Herrera and Jess McDonald, I am Lisa Carlin. It is so good to be here with you all. Thanks for listening as a pod on Golazo Network if you're watching us, and joining us live on YouTube. Sandra, my friend, you're looking pretty good, better than the last time I saw you. Have you recovered from the birthday celebrations?
I gotta tell you, do not lay out in the sun by any means when it is like 90 plus degrees out. It's like it doesn't matter how much you hydrate, you're still going to just feel it in every part of your body. But I gotta tell you, my celebrations are still going on. I'm here
That's
with you. I'm here with Jess McDonald.
There we
I'm here.
go.
I'm here with Olivia Rose. Like I'm
Yes.
still celebrating. Like let's go. Let's keep the birthday vibes going here. Let's keep the celebrations going. How are you, Jess? I'm so happy to see you again. Like do this with you. It's been a little while. How are
I
you?
know it's been a hot minute. I'm pretty good. Not too bad. Loving being a girl mom also. So that is it's been a thrill. Um, but I grew up in Arizona, so I know better than just be laying out in that hot sun. So are you still recovering from that? Did you just roast or what?
You got to give me some tips. You got to give me some tips. It was one of those I love summertime shy. Who doesn't out here? But then all of a sudden you have those long 9 months of winter, and then you get
Mhm.
that first 90-degree day, and you're like, wait a minute, I am deeply unprepared.
Yeah, you don't quite ease into it, like dip your toe in real quick. You just
Exactly.
bop on in.
Exactly. Good stuff. Good
The
stuff.
I
summer
love it.
comes at you fast and furious. And that's pretty much what has happened here, because NWSL is now on a summer break. So we have an international window coming up, and then a slew of international tournaments over the summer. A3, you're home for everything women's football. We're talking the Euros this summer. We've got fun conversations. And of course, the U.S. women's national team matches that are coming up, because the U.S. are set to play 3 matches in this next week, 2 of them against the Republic of Ireland. The first one this Thursday, June 26th, in Commerce City, Colorado, at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. And then Sunday against Ireland, June 29th, TQL Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. And then next Wednesday, July 2nd, the U.S. will take on Canada in Audi Field in Washington, D.C. But we're really going to focus on U.S. against Ireland and what we have seen with Emma Hayes' roster and the competition against Ireland. There have been a lot of rotation of new players coming in, different competition that U.S. Soccer has set up to play against. And we've been evaluating, Jess, how the U.S. is doing. What is kind of the barometer for good, for bad? So outside of winning in this window against Ireland, how do you view success for the U.S. women's national team?
You know what? At the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily have to be a win. It has to be performance. That's what I like to look at. I want to see how they're performing, what's their game plan, what are they trying to do, and are they executing? And they're executing. And that's what makes Emma Hayes so special with this squad. She's had so much rotation. When you compare to previous coaches, it took them a while to get the team going. Whereas Emma Hayes, you could tell when they go into these games, and a lot of these players are in their first camps most of the time that she's been the head coach. It's been so awesome to see them play such beautiful soccer. So I think that they've been performing so well, and I'm here for the performance. Obviously, the win is just cherry on top, but we want to see them do well. And that's exactly what they've been doing. And it's been nothing short of amazing to witness, and also witness these players getting their first call-ups as well over the last year and a half she's been head coach. I think that is just so epic and historical, because I think that's something that was very much so needed. And so just seeing these players get their chances and seeing how things go within the next couple of years before the World Cup, it's been awesome. I love the way that they've been performing.
For some
Yeah.
of these first-time call-ups, Jess, what are the expectations for them?
Oh, very high expectations. We're talking international now, because what you have brought in the NWSL or wherever you play overseas with your clubs, playing professionally, Emma Hayes is trying to see you apply that into the international game, because what you bring to the table as an individual is something special, and it's something someone else is not bringing to the table. So if curling a ball far post with your right foot is one of your strengths and it sticks out to Emma Hayes, she's going to expect you to do that, obviously, on the international level. So whatever strengths that you pull, that's what makes you special as a player. And that's exactly what we want to see on the field. So that's what I'm here for.
Sandra, when you think about this U.S. against Ireland, what would be success for you in this window? Like, what do you want to see as the next evolution of this team?
You know, I'm curious. I echo Jess's sentiments. I think it's Emma Hayes is also sort of iterated as much in all of her availabilities over the course of the last 6 months of this year. Mm-hmm. It really is about the processes at this point. It's not so much about these definitive roles so much. I think at one point, speaking with her a little bit about this particular roster, asked her about some positional things because Giselle Thompson's back in the mix. At one point, there was conversation about maybe getting a look at her amongst the forward core. And that's what this still is for this coaching staff. They are still very much in the process of not so much expanding that player pool, because it's officially been expanded, but it's really seeing who they are and what they can do in this stage of the year. They're 6 months into 2025. World Cup qualifiers will be at the end of next year in 26. It's about narrowing those things down. Who are going to potentially be your starters in the buildup to that 2026 window? Who are going to be your second, third, and fourth options? That's what this is about right now. So yeah, of course, we want to see those things. It's not about the result, but I'm going to put myself and expose myself a little bit and say, I want results. I want to see a win.
Of course. Guys, I need goals. I want a lot of goals from this U.S. team. When you look at the forward crew that Hayes has brought in, they have all been here. They are constants at this point with the U.S. women's national team and playing in this front line, in this high line, and understanding the style that Hayes wants to play. When you look at Biondolo, Cooper, Ryan, Sears, Sentnor, Thompson, they know how to find the back of the net. Can they do it consistently over multiple games with different players and different rotation? Then you add the wrinkle of Rose Lavelle, Croy Bethune being back in this roster for the first time. Croy Bethune since the Olympics, and Rose Lavelle for nearly 7 months. Getting them solid minutes, solid exposure back with this U.S. team, and seeing how the front line can click and interact with Bethune and Lavelle. Those are the areas of the field that I am going to be really keyed in on, and how they can look after such a long time not being there.
I'm curious about the goalkeeper position too. Yeah. Like, I know rightfully so, we're all so excited to see Rose back in the mix in this one. Is Lavelle going to get a start along someone like Croy Bethune? Will we get to see that come to fruition and play out? But there's no choice. Yeah, there's no PTJ in this window, a player that came off of 2 consecutive starts. So who's a goalkeeper that might get those next consecutive starts? Or will all 3 of these players split some time?
There's 3 games. We could see that. I think this is the camp where Hayes needs to really narrow down her goalkeepers and start to put them in roles of number 1, number 2, number 3, or at least have some of that solidifying in at least the staff's mind heading into it. Because when we think about how close the next international tournament is, the Women's World Cup in 2027 is closer than we think.
It really is.
Not that many international windows away. And this team has to start coming together, and you can't start building a foundation of a group of 11 if you don't have a goalkeeper, or at least one that you're hoping you can ride or die with moving forward.
Yep.
We are going to talk about every single line of this U.S. roster and who we want to see from everything that has come from it. But we're diving into some first-time call-ups, who we could see for the first time make their caps next under Emma Hayes. Don't go anywhere. More A3 next. Welcome back to Attacking Third, presented by CarMax, the way car buying should be. So this U.S. roster that players are called in for this camp, there are 4 players that are receiving their first-time call-ups. Huge shouts to them. Congratulations. Defenders Jordan Bugg, Lily Real, and Izzy Rodriguez, and midfielder Sam Meza. Now, these are just 4 of 27 players under Emma Hayes that have earned their first-time call-ups. And when you think about some of those players, they are now namestays. Emily Sams, who won gold last summer at the Olympics. The Giselle Thompson getting called in, Lola Bonta, some of the goalkeeper pool as well, Carrie Abello, Croy Bethune. It's crazy to think about this. Sandra, when we look at the 4 that are now called in, Bugg, Real, Rodriguez, and Meza, why these players? Why these 4 now at this time with the U.S.?
It's a part of what the coaching staff has kind of been doing throughout this season. I mean, we're watching a direct correlation between this coaching staff likely scouting the league and their teams and these players and how they're performing for their clubs, and then seeing that connection into these particular windows. Lily Real is a player that has, at this point in the season, at the halfway mark, has shown that she's become a bona fide starter for Gotham, which is not an easy thing to do in your rookie season. Has absolutely found herself integrated in attacks, has found herself maybe still adapting to certain stretches of play in NWSL, but even within that, watching her quick reactions and her quick ability to adapt is getting her into the mix here. And then a Sam Meza, who found herself maybe needing a little bit longer to build up into that form as a pro. And now it's paying off with something like this as a call up. It's like it's often times where you look at these moments as like the pinnacles of players and their careers. And they often say if they get that sniff, if they get that look at a national team camp, it means a little bit of layers of validation for them, that they are doing the right things, or at the very least trending in the right direction. And I think for all of these players in certain capacities, they have done that over the course of this year, or even dating back to 18 months back. When we look at a player like Jordan Bugg, who has been navigating her professional career with Seattle Reign since about midway of 2024. So they've also been on, let's not lie here. These are players that have also found themselves even on like highlight reels in NWSL. Jordan Bugg is a center back who's let an incredible goal ripped from distance. Lily Real has been on these highlight reels. Sam Meza is coming off of an incredible game with Seattle Reign off of this last week and going into these national team camps. I think to borrow a line from Hayes, the data don't lie, right? Like, it's out there for them, and we are seeing these performances week to week in NWSL, and then seeing these call-ins into national team camps.
Out of those players, who do you want to see most get some playing time?
I know I've talked a lot about Lily Real, but I really do hope Izzy Rodriguez gets some minutes in this one. There's no Emily Fox, in this camp. They're gonna have, there's 3 games in front of them. We're talking about the Ireland match specifically, but there's 2 against Ireland, and then on the horizon, Canada. So there's minutes to go around here. So I'm hopeful that it's Izzy Rodriguez. I think she's a deeply underrated player in the league. Maybe not so much on Kansas City Current, because her teammates know what she provides week in and week out, but I definitely hope we see her cutting up on the flanks.
Yes, and she's going to be cutting up too if she gets some playing time. I know she's going to prove herself. She's a player too that I'm excited to watch as well.
The left back role is really crucial for the U.S. because it is essentially wide open at this point, and we have seen Hayes consistently bring in trying out left-footed players, Carrie Abello, Lily Real, Izzy Rodriguez. And if I'm Real or Rodriguez, even Carrie Abello at this point, I'm saying I need to solidify myself as, if not the number 1 in the left back, the number 2. I need to be in there. They need me as a left-footed player. How can I set myself apart? And it's going to come down to, I think, tiny moments in training that we're not privy to as people outside of the camp, but how they're acting as professionals and bringing themselves in. But when we look at Bugg, Real, Rodriguez, and Meza, these are not players that are unfamiliar with U.S. soccer. They are all part of the youth programs. When you look at Bugg, Real, and Meza, they were with the U23s in Germany just a camp ago. So I think Emma Hayes has really answered that there's going to be a lot of up and down. Shaw, Corbin Albert, these are all players that have gone up and down. When you think realistically, Jess, at a major international tournament like the 2023 World Cup, how many spots are there actively available for realistically available for these players?
I might need for. Can you hear me okay, Lisa?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I lost you for.
Yeah, I heard a little bit of.
I heard a little.
I heard a little.
Oh no, am I back? Can you hear me?
You're back now.
You're back now.
You might have to repeat yourself. I'm sorry.
No, that's all good. I'm saying that there's a lot of up and down between the U23. Yeah. And when you think realistically at a spot at a 2027 World Cup with the U.S. women's national team, how many positions are realistically available for any of these 27 players that Hayes has called in for their first time?
Ooh, that's a very juicy question. I'm going to think for the strikers here. You know, I think the Triple Espresso have their spots. I think they're all going to be back, you know, come this next World Cup. But I would say that in the forward position, just because, you know, the numbers are usually much bigger in the forward position in major tournaments than all the other positions. So I would say that, you know, there's about 3 or 4 open spots, I think, up there. That's not a total given position. And I think, you know, coming in as that number, if they're playing 3 up top, coming in as that number 4, 5, and 6 position, I think a lot of these strikers who, you know, don't have as many caps right now have a pretty good chance of, you know, making their way in, squeaking on through. So, but
who would be your number one, Jess, of some of these forwards that we've seen come in?
Who's your number 1 third option?
My number 1 third option, I will have to go with Ali Sitnor.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Ali Sitnor fan. And also I'm biased because she's also a Tar Heel. So, but she's honestly been so consistent for club and country. I mean, despite like Utah being in that bubble, not doing great, you know, the last couple of seasons, she's still been such an outstanding player, which has been so impressive to watch, especially at her age. And now she's doing it at the international level. She's scoring Golossos. Mm-hmm. Oh, come on. You can't sleep on Sitnor. Come on now.
100%.
Michelle Cooper. Guys.
I love Michelle Cooper too. Yeah.
I was going to say, Olivia Rose agrees with Ali Sitnor. I love that. Yeah, no, I also agree with Michelle Cooper, though. I'm like, I think there's players who have been in these camps, not just this one in particular, but Michelle Cooper, I think there's a caliber of player that is still very young in terms of the level of their caps for the U.S. women's national team, where it's a benefit to them. They are still maybe a little bit rough around the edges. They're a little bit more rough and tumble. Like, you want to see them cutting in. You want to see that fearlessness a bit. And you don't want, and that could be confused for recklessness. You don't want to get like reckless by any means, right? Like, you want everybody happy and healthy and successful. And I feel like Michelle Cooper is still kind of that profile of player. Like, you could see how she's still sort of figuring things out as she goes, but it's enough. I feel like at this point I've seen enough to say, let's keep her for the duration of this year, because that's what 2025 is supposed to be for this coaching staff. They want to have a very mixed bag of options. And so I definitely want to see Michelle Cooper still get that time.
Yes. That's a fun little bubble of like a player that has enough experience that they feel confident and comfortable, but I don't want to say been burned yet, but they haven't really been burned to some extent, or something has gone terribly wrong that they then become a little bit more timid to try different things. And that's exactly where Michelle Cooper sits right now, in that perfect sweet spot of, I'm just going to try things. Like, what's the worst that could happen? And it has really worked out well for her with these last couple of camps that she's been called in. And then she goes back to Kansas City and is ripping it up. You can see her confidence and level just increasing almost every time she does this rotation of international camp and then back to club. We see that a lot, Jess, though, with some of these players that get called up and then go back to club.
Yes, absolutely. She's just been a thrill to watch, first as a winger. I don't know if you guys know, but she's a natural 9. So when she played at Duke, she was a 9. She played in the middle. And then she gets to Kansas City. Vlatko throws her outside. And we saw her in the first season or two of her playing career on the outside, just kind of lurking on the outside. Now she's coming on the inside pocket. Now she's coming inside pocket and ripping shots.
She's learned how to play 7
She's
and
learned
11.
how to play 7 and 11. Yes. And we've got to witness it. So that girl's been nothing short of amazing, improving her game. And it's been fun to watch.
Earlier this NWSL season, I got to talk to Michelle Cooper one-on-one and find out from her like how that evolution has been. And she said it was really difficult going from the 9 and then going to the professional game and changing positions all at once. Now, in this season of 2025, if she were to have finished out her years at Duke and play the full 4 years, this would be her rookie NWSL season. And she says, yeah, right. If you think about the timeline like that. And she said, I have a leg up on all these other rookies because I've been here. How can I use that to my advantage to continue to get better, to help my team? And now she's been, I would say, a consistent forward call up for Emma Hayes at the international level. And to me, that growth personally for Cooper is so incredible to watch. I think it's going to keep going too. She's just going to keep elevating because she's learning so much when she's with Hayes and that coaching staff to say, okay, how can I continue to evolve my game and find different pockets of space that I don't already see at times? All right, guys, Michelle Cooper, US, they're taking on Ireland. It's coming up this week. So we're going to talk about the Republic of Ireland, dive into that team next. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hey everyone, welcome back to Attacking Third, presented by CarMax, the way car buying should be. The U.S. are taking on the Republic of Ireland, and they've played a number of times before, the U.S. and Ireland, but most recently, Ireland, they finished second in League B, Group 2 of the UEFA Women's Nations League. They were with Slovenia, Turkey, and Greece. They fell 4-0 to Slovenia in match day 2 earlier this year, which ends up being their only loss of 2025. And then in the second meeting against Slovenia, they ended up beating them 1-0. But this is a team, Sandra, that the U.S. knows really well. Ireland knows the U.S. It is a familiar partnership and relationship here. What can we expect from the Republic of Ireland in these friendlies?
I think on paper, folks are going to look at the record, the all-time series, even the recent meetings between these two sides and say, this is a team that the USWNT is going to go out and beat. And sure, but that does not mean that it's going to be easy by any sense of the word. I think if you think back even to those most recent friendlies in 2023, those were difficult games. And I'm sure that the squad is thankful that a player like Katie McCabe is not on this roster right now, but that doesn't mean that there's not going to be some challenges. I mean, Lisa, we find ourselves speaking week in and week out constantly about Denise O'Sullivan and what she does for North Carolina Courage, and seeing her on this roster. She's absolutely going to be a factor in that middle third for Ireland, going up against the United States women's national team side that is also going to be maybe tinkering a bit with how their midfield looks as well. The team captain's out in this one. There is no Lindsay Heaps available for this selection. So how is the USWNT midfield going to look going up against one that's led by Denise O'Sullivan? I mean, I think we can expect a bit of a physical match at times for sure. It's not something that Ireland is unfamiliar to bringing to games against the United States. And because they are a bit of a younger squad in this one, I'm sure their head coach wants to see that type of match. They want to see their players live up to maybe some of those prior expectations of the team. They want to see them go toe-to-toe with the number one in the world and not be intimidated.
Jess, who are you watching for? Yeah.
Ooh. Well, first and foremost, I'm going for, the NWSL players, obviously. Denise O'Sullivan, a longtime teammate of mine, and just I call her. Don't even let her size fool you, because I call her the juggernaut in the midfield, because that's exactly how she plays. And whenever the U.S. goes up against Ireland, it's always a fight. It's never an easy game for the United States. I've had the experience of playing against them, representing the crest as well. My goodness, they are a tough team. They're a bunch of juggernauts on that team, and let me tell you, they're going to go full 90, and they're not giving up. So I think it's going to be a much better game than we think. Don't let rankings fool you right now, because this is a very scrappy team who's not going to make this an easy game for the United States.
I think scrappy is a really good word to use for the way that Ireland's going to play. They're going to get stuck in there, tough tackles against the U.S. and against some of these younger players or inexperienced players at the U.S. I could see them getting a little shell-shocked at, oh, wow, this is how hard Ireland's going to hit us.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it means, because Ireland has a lot of reputation to play for. And we talked about this before going live today. This Ireland roster is made up of a lot of Americans, players that have played collegiately in the States, that grew up here in America. They understand exactly what the U.S. women's national team is made of. And it is their job, their reputation as Republic of Ireland players, to go and disrupt that. See what they can get off of the U.S. And a player like Denise O'Sullivan, who has played for so long in the NWSL, I think she's a really good example of how you can have a player that does both, that understands both sides of it and can really lead her Irish team. So realistically, probably a pretty physical game. Without Katie McCabe, though, on this Irish roster, she's getting a bit of a rest for her international window, so she's not in here. How much does that change how Ireland is going to be able to play, specifically without McCabe?
I mean, I think it'll still be, at times, there will be stretches where there will be some moments of like stable or structured organizational defense. I think this is the United States women's national team side that no matter who's been in the rotation, we're talking about newer names or less experienced players. The methodology has been consistent for these players. The coaching staff gives them their tasks. They say, we want you to go out there and do A, B, and C. And so we have seen stretches where maybe the United States has found a little bit of unpredictability. We saw some of that against China, where maybe they thought they were going to come out a certain way, and these players had to find themselves making adjustments very quickly in real time. They thought maybe they would sit back a little bit. That is not what they were tested with in the opening 5 minutes. But they made those adjustments very, very quickly. I'm curious to see if Carla Ward and Ireland are going to do similar. Maybe they say, hey, they expect us to come out a certain way. This is the opportunity to maybe go into our bag of tricks and present something a little bit different over the not one, but 2 matches against the United States women's national team. But I do think ultimately this is still going to remain a little bit of a physical game. I think there's going to be stretches where this Ireland side tries to take it to the United States a little bit. They're not afraid to go into challenges. They're not afraid to go into duels. And maybe because of that, it will be difficult during stretches of, for the United States to not only win that momentum, but sustain that momentum going forward against Ireland. And then, I mean, I'm also really looking forward in terms of this Ireland squad to see Courtney Bronson again in net for Ireland. I mean, I think she does incredible stuff with Everton. She is often pretty unshakable, does not look nervous whenever she's in net representing Ireland. And so I won't be surprised if, with some of those periods of adjustment for players on the national team who are still getting these moments of big game experiences, where they're going to maybe feel some of that pressure by not maybe cracking one in the opening 10 minutes of a game, because somebody like Courtney Barnes is such a stable presence in that game. If Ireland go out in either of these games and keep the United States off the board for 15 minutes, that's going to maybe lead to perhaps some frustrations on the other side for the United States.
For the U.S., this is a chance for Emma Hayes to get more players opportunities, try out different rotations, see how those partnerships are growing. But for Ireland, this is a practice game because they have playoffs in October coming up in the fall of this year, UEFA Nations League playoff games. They'll play against Belgium in October. So for Ireland, they're going to use this game as a chance to try, I would imagine, sitting in a mid block, see how they can mitigate some of what the U.S. does, but they're not so deep, and then look to go a little quicker, get in behind the U.S., similarly to how Ireland could play against Belgium. This is a good practice for them going up against the number one team in the world in the FIFA rankings like the U.S., and for Hayes and the United States, it's a chance to continue to test themselves against different competition, see if they can try different things as well, individually and as a group. Oh, I'm so excited for these games against Ireland. Thursday is the first one. Don't worry. We will have a full recap on A3 right here on YouTube as soon as that match ends on Thursday night. But don't go anywhere. We're going to talk a little line by line, different positions with the U.S. and what we can expect from them. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Attacking Third. Let's talk the U.S. roster line by line. Who we're excited to see, who has the most to prove, perhaps, in this upcoming international window. 2 friendlies against Ireland, 1 against Canada. It's A3, so you know we're starting in the back with our goalkeepers. Where else would we start, Sandra? So between Angelina Anderson, Claudia Dickey, Mandy McGlynn, who has the most to prove, bud?
Oh, I'm ready for it. Give Claudia Dickey the cap.
Yeah.
I need to see it. She's already been called into consecutive camps now. This is a player who has been hovering around. She's been in the mix with this national team, whether it was starting in the January winter camps all the way through now, and hasn't quite got the opportunity to get game time minutes. And I'm hopeful, I'm very hopeful that with 3 games as part of this summer window, that maybe, just maybe, there will be games split up across these 3 goalkeepers. But the coaching staff wants to see very specific scenarios. We just recently saw Fallon Tullis-Joyce get consecutive back-to-back games. Does the coaching staff want to see that for someone in Mandy McGlynn? So if that is what they want to see, maybe there's 2 games for McGlynn, which leaves 1 open for another one of these keepers who's yet to earn a cap. So I'm very hopeful that it is Claudia Dickey. I love what she's been doing for Seattle Reign. I think at one point through 10 games in the season, she led American goalkeepers in the league in various stats, whether it was clean sheets or total save percentage. The data don't lie, like Emma Hayes said. So let's finally get to see it come to fruition. And I think a game or 2 against Ireland could potentially be that game that Claudia Dickey is. Look, and Olivia Rose agrees with me once again. So
Yes.
Thank you, Olivia. She said, yes, Sandra.
Anytime you speak and she can't even hear you, it's just so funny. Oh my
it.
goodness. I agree. And you know what? Claudia Dickey has an advantage because she also played basketball in college. I'm also biased once again because she's also a Tar Heel. So no, but she has been so consistent this season. This is the best season I've seen her play in the pros. She has been settling so well with Seattle Reign this season. She's just been so impressive to watch. And I want to see her do that at the international level as well. So I'm with you there, Sandra.
Guys, I want to see Angelina Anderson. I do. The Angel City goalkeeper, because I feel like she has been keenly watched by this U.S. staff. She got called in her first camp in January with the U.S. Now she spent time with the U23s in Germany last window, and now she's called up to the senior national team camp, which makes me think that there is something there in Anderson that they are very excited about, right? A little flame that they can hopefully flame a little bit to get into a big burning fire. I want time for Anderson. Despite the recent form of Angel City hasn't been great, I think Anderson has still done a pretty good job. She's worked her way back to the U.S. camp. I want time for her. There's 3 games. I don't expect to see all three keepers play, but I expect to see two play in this window. Let's move up the pitch to our defenders, because there are a lot of different defenders called into this camp, a lot of new ones. As we mentioned, Izzy Rodriguez and Jordan Bugg and Lily Reel earning their first call-ups. Jess, which player has the most to prove?
I will have to go with probably Lily Reel. Much younger, less experienced, but she's been so fantastic this season in that left back position for Gotham this season. I have just been in awe of her. She's so good as a 1v1 defender. I think that she has been one of the most consistent outside backs this season. I think it's a two-way tie between her and Izzy Rodriguez. I totally fangirl over Izzy. I got to train with her this past offseason. I don't know if I've mentioned that enough, but just watching her put in the work and then applying it this season, Izzy's been really fun. But I'm a huge Lily Reel fan this season. And you know what? There's something in the water with these rookies, too, to top it off. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but they're crushing it. And Lily Reel, she's been playing like she's an experienced player. And that's been a lot of fun to watch this season.
I like the shout, kind of you mentioning they're just like maybe it's a 1-2 between a Reel and a Rodriguez for time over the course of these windows. I think for me, maybe it's a similar feeling, but for Avery Patterson and Giselle Thompson, I'm high on both of these players. I'm not quite yet a G Thompson truther, but I'm absolutely a respecter, and I'm on board with that same way with Avery Patterson as well. I think these two players, when they have found themselves at this level, have absolutely taken a hold of that opportunity in front of it, grabbed it in their grasp, and have not let it go. They've absolutely capitalized on it whenever they've been in the mix. And so when we're looking at 4 caps or 4 appearances for Patterson at this time, or the 3 caps for Thompson, what's it going to look like against what is going to be perhaps a small but mighty Ireland side, as Jess has already alluded to? We want to see that. Maybe how are you going to work out of those physical challenges? How are you going to work out of perhaps frustrating moments at times, because your responsibility is not only going to obviously be to aid and make sure that there's a shutout, but they want to see these players get involved in the attack and maybe facilitate them as well. So I definitely want to see these two on the back line.
I agree. I think the outside back role is so crucial during this window against Ireland, because these players have to be able to get into the attack, add something new, be critical and clinical in how they're doing that, while also making sure they're not just completely exposing themselves on the counterattack and leaving the center backs alone. For me, it's Avery Patterson. She's gotten a couple caps. She's gotten a couple call-ins. I think this could be the determining camp of, are you ready? Where are you not ready? Should you go back to the U23s for a little? To me, Avery Patterson has a lot to prove in this camp of if she's going to stay and compete at the international level moving forward. Midfield crew that we have brought in for the U.S. No Lindsay Horan, but we get to see Rose Lavelle, Croy Bethune back in the mix. But to me, it doesn't really matter about those players. They're always going to be in it. Olivia Moultrie has to prove herself in this camp for me, because she has been in and out of the U23s, in and out of the senior women's national team. And can she play alongside a Bethune and a Lavelle, who are very creative? How does she compete with them in training? How does she provide something different in the attack from a deeper lying midfield role for this U.S. team? And Olivia Moultrie has a lot to prove, because I think going up against Bethune and Lavelle in training, and even Hutton in training, is going to be different for Moultrie. And it's going to be very showing if she can compete, set herself apart, or if maybe she's not ready and she goes back to the 23s, because that's been a bubble player on both of the rosters this year.
Agree. I think when it comes to who has the most to prove, it's absolutely Moultrie. I think when it comes to who do we want to see get in the mix and cut it up, you already alluded to it in this, Lisa, Croy Bethune, for sure. I think we want to see how she's looking back in the mix with the national team 100%. I think we're all hopeful that maybe we could get to see a game where she shares time on the pitch at the same time with Rose Lavelle. But I think for me, as far as most improved, I'm looking at Claire Hutton. This is a player that I've been high on for a little while. But I want to see that consistency that we see week in and week out for club. I want to see it on the national team. And I don't quite think we've seen it just yet. I think she's had spurts and good moments in some of her minutes against international competition, but it's not translating completely yet. It's on its way, but I want to see it get more time. And I think 2 games against Ireland, who might be a little bit of a tricky, stingy kind of opponent, could be that Claire Hutton specialty type of game.
I am with you, Sandra. I've got to go with Claire Hutton. She's been consistently in these camps, and I think that she has so much more to prove. She's so consistent with the Kansas City Current, and also, you know what? Another juggernaut in the midfield as well. So I think if she gets some playing time, watching her and Denise O'Sullivan is going to be very, very entertaining physically. Yep. But I will have to agree with you. Claire Hutton, she's so impressive on the ball, though. Man, when I say AJ nothing but the number, Claire Hutton is that.
Yes.
Because she's always been playing like she's an experienced player as well. And I'm a huge fan of hers in the midfield, but I think she's got the most pressure and, the biggest target on her back, whether or not she's going to continue to come in with the full team.
Without Lily Johannes on this roster, as well as a European club player, I think that gives a little bit of space for Hutton to try to prove herself in this window in the midfield. All right, the forward crew. A number of veterans called in with Biandolo. I'm putting Allie Sentnor and Alyssa Thompson in there. I mean, Thompson's got 19 caps. But, Jess, who has to prove themselves in this camp from this forward group?
I will have to go with Michelle Cooper. I think that she's been improving her game. And I love that Emma Hayes is continuing to give her a chance. I think this is one of those players that people have been kind of sleeping on, and then she finally got her first call-up in January. And so now that she's been getting this consistent call-ups, hopefully her game can stay that way as well. It's consistent because she's so young, and she's going to continue to be young even when the World Cup comes. So I think she's one of those players that, is going to have to continue to improve her performance at the end of the day.
With 6 claps for Cooper, I just feel like she already fits in with this U.S. team so well. I do. And she's only 6 caps, right? She is so young. We always talk about this, but for me, I want Yasmin Ryan to ball out, not because her place with the U.S. is at risk. I really don't think it is. I think she's done a good enough job consistently, but because with Houston Dash, Ryan has been forced to morph and fill so many different roles than just relying on what she wants to do and focusing a little bit more on how she can develop as a person. And this camp is a really good space for Ryan to try different things creatively, know that her job is going to be to create, to get assists, to score goals, not to carry the entire team. It's going to be less pressure in that sense for Yasmin Ryan. And I want her to get back to a lot of the free and fun playing football that we had seen from her that earned her these call-ups with Gotham last year. That has kind of been lost a little bit in the plot with Houston Dash this year. So Yasmin Ryan, I'm sending her good vibes for this camp.
Yeah, all the positivity, right? Like it looks like initially that move isn't quite paying off, to Houston quite yet. There's been some struggle there as they kind of figure things out, but maybe this is an opportunity for her to kind of show how she can differentiate, club play from international play. So I'm with you on Yasmin Ryan. I think these are all good shouts. I would maybe throw Emma Sears in the mix as well. I think while we've been talking a lot about Michelle Cooper, it's for good reason. And if we're talking about the best third option or the best fourth option as these spots for players that they're competing for, maybe all this talk about Michelle Cooper maybe means that she's edged out a player like Emma Sears in the national team mix. So I want to see some good minutes and some good games from Emma Sears. what you're doing for club. Let's make sure that it continues to translate for the international side, because Racing, unlike Houston Dash, have found themselves turning a corner in 2025 on a really good stretch of games. Is that momentum going to carry for Emma Sears in these international matches? I hope so. I want to see Emma Sears get minutes and prove something.
Great shout for Emma Sears. I said it on our Sunday recap show, Racing Louisville to the playoffs, and it is led by a player like Emma Sears. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere. We've got predictions for the U.S. against Ireland. Stick with us. Welcome back to Attacking Third, presented by CarMax, the way car buying should be. This Thursday, June 26th, mark your calendars, U.S. against Ireland, 9 p.m. Eastern kickoff. It's happening in Commerce City, Colorado. And if you're not headed to Colorado, be right here on Attacking Third YouTube, because immediately following this game, we're going to have a full recap breaking down everything USA and Ireland. And as we close out our preview for this game, we're going to give the people predictions. All right, Sandra, hit us with your final score predictions for USA against Ireland.
All right. I hope we get some good games, but just like any maybe international tournament in a group stage where that first game is always the most difficult, I feel similarly about international windows that have those little bit of extra games. And this is one of those windows that's going to have it. I think it's going to be a tough first match, not in the sense that it's going to be a complete shambles for USWNT. I just don't think it's going to be a blowout. I'm going to say maybe they're going to get 2 goals in this one, and they're going to be stretched apart across the 90 minutes. So 2-0 for me for USA.
Ooh. It's definitely going to be a wide open game, I think, as well. It's not going to be pretty for either team. I think it's going to be really scrappy, and I was going to say 2-0 as well, Sandra.
Right on.
Yeah, you know I don't think it's going to be a total blowout.
We'll differentiate. I'm going to say 2-0, and maybe Emma Sears gets on the score sheet. How about you, Jess?
Okay. I say 2-0, and Michelle Cooper assists to Emma Sears.
Right on.
Oh, I like
you got,
this
Jess?
combo.
Who you got, Lisa?
Guys, I'm going goals. 4-0, the USA.
Touchdown.
Lisa wants her goals. All right, go ahead.
I do. I want my goals, and I think in Colorado, it is going to be a big crowd, right? The Denver people are going to come out and support for the U.S. So I'm going to go 4-0 for this one.
Right.
It is Thursday, 9 p.m., USA against Ireland, and then the recap right here on A3. Guys, this was so fun. Thanks for hanging with us. Jess, we got to know, how was Olivia Rose's first A3?
Oh, she was great. I think everyone heard her little voice here and there, nice and soft, but I think she really enjoyed herself in and out of naps. So, yeah.
I love it. Come back, Olivia Rose. Come back and hang out with us.
Yeah.
Oh, she will. At 11 p.m. on Thursday, yeah, she might be joining us. So.
I love it. Come for the U.S. recaps, stay for the baby content, because man, that's all A3 cares about right now. I love it. Guys, thanks for hanging with us so much. If you're listening as a podcast, we so appreciate it. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. If you're hanging with us on Golazo Network, thank you. We appreciate it. And of course, our YouTube fam. It is always good to see your comments and conversations in the chat. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you on Thursday. For Sandra, Jess, our producers, Jen and Brad, I'm Lisa. This was Attacking Third.